So, a couple things. These assignments are due behind me right here. Okay. Headphones, please. Please. Can you take them off, please? Thank you so much. Every time I'm talking, please. All right. Now, these two assignments are due. They're going in the grade book. The one from Friday, you want to turn it in as soon as you can. We are moving fast here because we did lose a day, right? Everyone knows we had a big blizzard yesterday. We couldn't come to school. Slight eye roll. But anyways, also, we were supposed to have a test this Friday, so maybe it gets pushed back. We'll see. Do I feel nice? I don't know. Well, make sure you turn in last week's warm-up. With anyone not here Friday, you still need to turn in last week's warm-up. Just put absent on the day you were absent and turn it in. For today, y'all know today's not Monday, so if you're writing your warm-up on a Monday, today's not Monday, so you wanted to put no school for Monday and Tuesday, and if you messed up, just draw an arrow and do that, okay? Now, y'all gotta know how to turn a percentage into a decimal. So I'm gonna show you, so make sure you're looking up here and on your phone, please. Okay, here we go, 50%. Let me show you how to do this, okay? Headphone. I shouldn't have to say this 3 or 4 times every period. When I'm talking, there are no headphones. Okay, so look right here. First week of school. 24 means 24.0. Does everyone see this at the top where I'm pointing? Okay. The decimal is to the right of the number. So when I have 50%, that means 50 dot. How do you turn it into a decimal from a percentage? Right here, I tell you, you move the decimal 2 to the left. Okay, so watch me do it. All right, here we go. So 1, 2, now my decimal is right here. 0.50. We always start with the 0 if there is no other unit. 0.50. Cool, so 0.50. Now normally you're not going to have that other 0 off to the right. Really, it's just going to be 0.5. All right, so 0.5 is 50% as a decimal. Okay. All right, 17%. So again, I got 17% means the decimal is to the right. My rule is I move it 2 to the left. So I get 0.17, right? Make sure you're looking at the front. So 0.17, remember, you got to have a number here. So it's 0.17. Cool. Next one, 5%. Notice how 5 is different than 50, right? They're different numbers. So when I have 5%, I take the 5, the dot goes here. I'm going to move it 2 to the left. 1, 2. Do you see how there's like a empty space here? What goes in that empty space? A 0, yeah. So it's 0.05, so that means 0.05. Do you see the difference between 0.5 and 0.05? It's like the difference between $5 and $50. It's a big deal, okay? Well, 105%, so 105 point. When I move that 2 to the left, it's going to become 1.05. Does everyone see? You put the dot at the far right, move it 2 to the left, that's your new number, okay? What about 5.5%? Well, if I move it 2 to the left, it's going to be 1, 2, there's a space here. So that'd be 0.055. That is my decimal answer. Okay. So we're going to do some short notes on this new equation. It's not really new, but it's a new take on what we've been learning. Here we go. So everyone's got the warm up. I gotta move on to the notes here. All right. Now, this equation, it looks new, right? Like we haven't seen this before. There's also a new little symbol in there, which I'll explain. But I do want you to notice this. What we've been doing the last 2 weeks has been this equation. Y equals A times B to the X. So this equation for today kind of looks the same. The A is the same. The X is the same. But instead of B, now we have a 1 plus minus R. Now, y'all see this thing? That's kind of new, right? Plus minus. What that means is it's either plus or it's minus. It depends on the problem. I'll show you. Write this down. The A is the initial value. Write that down. And R is my rate. And X is my time. Okay. So just like last time, A is your initial value. B is not the rate this time. R is the rate. You're adding it or subtracting it from 1. X will end up being time. So here's the key concept. You start with 1 and scratch out the add or subtract is what you're going to fill in here. You start with the number 1 in the parentheses, and then you're either going to add or subtract the percentage rate. As a decimal, this is very important. You cannot put a percent sign in there. It has to be turned into a decimal, just like we did on today's warm-up. That's why we did it. That the function is increasing plus or decreasing minus by. You always want your rate to be in decimal form. I said it there twice. It's got to be in a decimal form. Okay? Let's do this like the warm-up. What is 15% as a decimal? Put the dot, move it 2 to the left. What is that going to be? 0.15. Very good. What about 27%? Put the point, move it 2 to the left. 0.27. And this one was on the warm-up. 5. Yeah, 0.05 when you have that blank. And 0.09 over here is correct. Thank y'all. Now, let's do 2 examples, and I'll stop talking, and y'all can jam out and do some math, all right? After, yeah. So here we go. I know this might seem crazy, but you got to read the word problem, okay? So let's read it. A comic book collector has a first edition comic currently worth $370. He anticipates it will grow in value at a rate of 15% per year. How much will the comic book be worth 12 years from now? All right, first of all, A, how much does it start with? How much value does it start with? $370. R is my rate. Now you can write it as a percentage. Sorry, what? 15%? Now here's the dealio. You got to tell me, what does it equal? So move it 2 to the left. 0.15, okay? So now we have A, now we have R. We need to do something very important, and we need to think. We need to look for a key word here, and you need to tell me, is it increasing or decreasing? So what's a key word that can tell me, is it increasing or decreasing? Grow. Hey, grow. Grow means up. That means plus sign, right? Does everyone know grow is an increasing value, so plus sign. So next to R, I'm going to put a little plus sign because I'm talking about increasing. So go ahead and write your equation that we have at the top of this page. Y equals A, parentheses 1 plus minus R, parentheses X. And here's what we know. A is going to be 370. The plus minus is just going to be plus, okay? It's a decision, and we decided it's plus, right? Because it's growing. The R is going to be 0.15. Let's write it right here. A is 370. This is a plus sign only. 0.15. X stays X for now, okay? Now, the way it is, you could graph it and get a graph, get a table, just the way it is. But let me tell you, in that parentheses, 1 plus 0.15 can actually simplify. You can actually add those two numbers together. What is 1 plus 0.15? 1.15. If you're not sure, Desmos is how you can add things, right? 1 plus 0.15, 1.15, okay? So let's go ahead and put our final equation here. Y equals 370, 1.15 to the power of X. Do you see how that works? A is initial, the rate has to be converted, and it's either adding or subtracting 1. Now, last step. Once you've got this final equation, it's going to give you a time. This says 12 years. You're going to replace X with that time, 12. So I'm going to rewrite this equation, and instead of X, I'm going to put a 12. And now I just need to figure out, what does that equal? So could you type that with a 12 into Desmos? Okay, well, I did that up here. 370 times 1.15 to the power of 12 using this A to the B button. And I got 1,979.592. The 2 does not round up. So it's 1979.59. And that is money. It's dollars, because we're talking about the worth of a comic book. Does everyone see? Your last step is to plug in the time value, right? Everyone in the back who's not looking at a phone, right? Right? All right. Number 2. Bradley's purchasing a new car for $37,000. Let's write that down for A. That's how much he bought it initially. If the car loses 20% of its value, oh, there's a rate, 20%. You're right. So 20% as a decimal, you move it 2 to the left. It's 0.2. You could put the next 0, but you don't have to. In fact, you normally won't see it. After I'm done, jam out. All right. Okay, now let's write the equation. Y equals 37,000. Now hold on. Is this going to add or subtract? Where's the key word here? Lose. When you lose, you subtract. Minus, right? So again, I'm going to pen. I'm going to put a little minus next to R because I'm talking about subtraction. So when I put the 1 instead of plus sign, now it's going to be a minus sign. Does everyone see what I'm pointing to right here and right here? If it gives you a word that says you're losing, subtracting, decreasing, whatever, you got to put a minus sign, okay? It's not always plus. Sometimes it's minus. Okay, be careful. 0.2 to the power of x. Sometimes it's minus, right? When you lose or decrease. Now hold on. What is 1 minus 0.2? That can actually be done in a calculator. And I did it. It is 0.8, right? When I rewrite this, now there's a typo here at the bottom. They wanted to know how much it's worth after 7 years, so down here this should say 7 years. You're going to replace x with the number 7. $37,000 times 0.8 to the power of 7. I did that earlier, and I got 7,759.462. The 2 does not make the 6 round up, so it's 7759.46. And that's money. We're talking about the value of a car. Cars decrease in value. It's so sad. Okay. So, do you see there's 2 types of problems? A increasing growth problem where you add, a decreasing decay problem where you subtract. This is how it looks. You got 2 nice examples here to look at. You're going to try it on your own. If you finish, there's some extension next to the turning bin you can grab. So you can, as long as you're working, listen to music. Okay, so let's get started.